All right. So thank you all for joining me today to learn how using GitHub Copilot can improve your job satisfaction. Got a QR code here. If you wouldn't mind scanning that, it's a little quick survey. It'll take you just a few seconds. It's really not a big deal. Don't have to do it if you don't want to. I got to tell you though, I gave this presentation in Fayetteville about a month ago. None of them did it, and it really didn't. I didn't like that. So I know you guys are better than that here. No LSU jokes. Okay. All right. So while you're doing that, just give you a little about myself. I'm a doctoral student at Marymount University, working toward my doctorate in business administration. And in preparing for that, I'm studying AI code generating tools and their effects on developer performance, specifically job satisfaction, and some others. We'll get to those in a minute. In addition, I've worked in IT since 1995. I've done a lot of things over the years, but the one thing I really like to do is write code. And the bad thing is that's the one thing I rarely get to do now, so when I do get to write code, I try to enjoy it, try to have fun, and when I do get to do it, my job satisfaction goes way up. When I'm executing a contract, my job satisfaction goes way down, things like that. So I think before we get started, or before we get going too far in, I'm going to jump in and give a little preview here of Copilot Chat, and I'm going to lower the lights in the back if that's okay, which is a little dangerous at 2:30. And I prepared this and it looked really, really great, but the font's actually going to be a little bit small on here, so I apologize. And the interesting thing too is Copilot tends to do its suggestions in a really light gray font, which is even worse. So we'll get through it, so this is Copilot Chat, and it's a pretty neat little tool. If you're on a Mac, you hit Command-I or Control-I on a Windows machine, and it pops up this little chat window, and you can ask it to do stuff, write some code for you, explain some code, etc., and it does that. And so I'm going to start with FizzBuzz here, and I'm going to say implement FizzBuzz is what I'm typing, and Copilot thinks about it for a second. And it generates some code for me, and you can see this code, and that's not too bad. And that's FizzBuzz. And if you actually wrote FizzBuzz originally using Perl, raise your hand. No one? Okay. Larry Wall is not happy. All right, that's okay. So the next thing I do is reverse a string, which I don't know that I've ever reversed a string in my life, but I didn't have to write any code to do it, and you got your hello world backwards there. And then kind of moving along in leet code here, we're going to go to a palindrome check. Let's say implement palindrome check. And you can see there's some code that gets generated for me. And I didn't modify any of this. I didn't change any of it. I just kind of reviewed it real quick, hit accept. And you can see that race car is in fact a palindrome. Let's do something a little more difficult. So quicksort. Implement quicksort. Once again, I didn't write any of this code. I'm not that good, frankly. And quicksort was implemented for me with very little effort. And now everyone's favorite interview question, reverse a linked list. And there is our linked list reversed. Now I'm going to pause right here real quickly. The interesting thing about Copilot is it's based on context, and it's based on kind of a natural language processing. I originally in that chat window typed implement reverse a linked list, and it returned JavaScript code. So I had to specifically say implement reverse a linked list for a C#.NET console app, and then it generated this code perfectly. So that kind of it's all about how you engineer your prompts here on these things, and that helps out a lot. So you have to sometimes kind of tinker with these things. It's also all about context, and the more tabs you have open in your development environment, it takes all that stuff into context. All right, I'm gonna keep cruising along here in this. And then the last thing that I implement is actually an abstract factory pattern, and it goes through and it creates an example of the abstract factory pattern. And I thought that was pretty neat. I didn't write any code for this. All I said was implement it, and boom, there it was. And got to be honest, about 12 years ago, I would have really loved to have had something like this, but it took a lot longer then. But yeah, abstract factory, implemented. I want to be sure I give you a good look, so I scrolled through there a couple times. All right, so now that you know who I am, and we've seen a little bit about Copilot. Let's see who you are. Think happy thoughts. Hey, all right, some people did it. All right, nice. So we got a lot of JavaScript people, a lot of JavaScript folk in here. All right. 1 to 5 years is our big one there. Like most IT people, we all get interrupted often. Very good. All right. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate it. That actually helps me out in my research. So what are the objectives of this talk today? So, well, the first thing we want to do is we want to, at the end of this session, we want to be able to see what is Copilot, how does it work, what's the history of AI code generation, and then how do we use it to generate some SQL code, since this is SQL Saturday, and then also how do we use it to generate some C# code, since this is the .NET track. And then ultimately we want to know, how does this thing affect our job satisfaction? How does this make us happier in our jobs? So first of all, what is GitHub Copilot? Well, it's an AI-powered code completion tool. It was developed by OpenAI in collaboration with GitHub, and it's designed to assist developers by providing context-aware code suggestions and auto-completion within their code editor. And this thing works really well. I've used it in VS Code, Visual Studio, and JetBrains. And actually, I think JetBrains works best in my opinion, but I've used it in all three, and it works really well in all three. I use VS Code for my examples just because it's freely available, and that's what most people kind of use on YouTube and all those things. So it should be noted that Copilot leverages machine learning models trained on publicly available code to generate code snippets and completions. I want to say there was something like 89 gigabytes of Python code alone that it was generated, so it's a lot of public GitHub code that it was trained on. And another thing to remember here is Microsoft owns GitHub, and Microsoft owns, I think it's 49% of OpenAI. So they kind of took those technologies and put them together, kind of like shredded lettuce in a Ziploc bag, right, to give you a new and cool product. So how does it work? Well, here's a little diagram showing how it works. And basically it comes down to, as a programmer, as you're writing code, requests are continuously made to the AI model, and that analyzes the code, identifies valuable suggestions, and send those back to the programmer in your IDE. It can suggest kind of complete lines of code, so kind of like IntelliSense on steroids, if you will. But it can also generate, like entire functions and stuff like that. Also, it can bring back multiple suggestions, and you can iterate through them and cycle through them and figure out which one kind of fits what you're trying to do. It also will it'll create unit tests for you. If unit testing is your thing. I myself test in prod, but wait a minute. Let me hit pause on that real quick. So what are the building blocks of Copilot and job satisfaction? So Copilot combines the concept of code generation and the technology of artificial intelligence. Both of these things have been around since the 50s, not necessarily in the same version they are today, but they've been around for a while. In addition, job satisfaction is part of developer performance, and the SPACE framework is what we use to determine developer performance. And I'll get more detailed into that in just a minute. And then lastly, I'm going to talk about some job satisfaction theories. I wouldn't be a doctoral student if I didn't talk about a few theories, but I will keep them light, I promise, mostly because I don't fully understand them myself. So real quickly, a brief history of code generation. So automatic code generation has been around for a long time. It's been around since 1951 when Grace Hopper created the first compiler, the A0. So up until that time, it was all zeros and ones into the processor, and that's how you wrote programs. And Grace Hopper created a cool way of writing math in human readable format that then got translated into those zeros and ones. I'm trying to envision that being as revolutionary then as something like IntelliSense or like this would be today. Then to kind of follow along, IBM in the 50s started working on Fortran, and in 1957 released Fortran. And I believe that's widely considered the first high-level programming language. Now, I could be wrong about that, but I think it is. And it's real popular, or was real popular in the scientific and engineering communities. And once again, COBOL kind of took Grace Hopper's idea and injected steroids into that, right? It made it even better. So you could write really complex algorithms and math formulas, and that all got generated into zeros and ones for the compiler ultimately. COBOL was released in 1959. COBOL kind of is to the business world what Fortran was to the scientific and engineering community. And interesting side note of COBOL, and I didn't know this until I was doing some research, the government in the 50s actually had a task force put together where they wanted to accomplish this task of creating a programming language for business. And they had 3 different stages. They had a short-term, mid-term, long-term. COBOL was the solution for the short-term. And when COBOL came out, there was no need for the mid-term or the long-term. So it was that good. Which is odd for me to say because in school that was like the one class I could not pass COBOL. I had to live in the prof's office to get through that thing.
It was a long amortization program.
Right. There was a lot of there was a lot that went on to get me through COBOL. IDEs. So in 1991, IDEs released Visual Basic, which in the last session they talked about that. Visual Basic, Visual C++. You could create Windows programs, right? And it would create all of that windowing toolkit, all the Windows code for you. You could create and destroy those windows. You didn't have to know anything about it. I often joke to say Visual Basic 5 turned me into a Windows programmer, and if I can do it, anybody can be a Windows programmer. And then in 1997, when VB5, IntelliSense was released. And IntelliSense is the reason that I actually stayed in this